She's already convicted of killing her own children, but now Lori Vallow says her latest murder conviction for killing her fourth husband was a bit of a surprise. And wait until you hear the bizarre excuse she's giving for her daughter's death. The Doomsday Mom just wrapped up another trial, and somehow her story just keeps getting even stranger. Let's recap. So she's already convicted of killing her own kids. And now Lori Vallow is guilty of conspiring to kill her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. And if you thought Lori's first trial was a wild ride, buckle up, because this time she decided to act as her own lawyer, which went exactly how you'd expect. So Lori spent her time picking fights, rambling about nonsense, and asking witnesses the kind of questions you'd hear at a family barbecue, like when she called her own brother to the stand and hit him with this gem.
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay, so you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
You do not remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
But once Lori was done talking about enchiladas, she finally got around to defending herself. And like everything with Lori Vallow Daybell, her story was wild. She told the jury that her brother, Alex Cox, shot Charles Vallow in self-defense after a simple family argument got out of control. Now, according to Lori, Charles wasn't there that morning just to pick up JJ for school. She claimed Charles got into a fight with her daughter, Tylee, and even threatened the teen with a baseball bat. And that's when Lori says Alex stepped in and shot Charles to protect them all. She calls the shooting the first domino that led to her children's crazy.
What happened with Charles that day, between Tylee and Charles that day, had been building for months. They had been getting into these fights, and I had to separate them physically twice. Tylee and I went and stayed in a hotel twice to get away because she was pushing his buttons like only a teenager can, you know. And when that happened that day, I mean, that's what I was precluded from discussing. I was precluded from talking about what led up to this incident, why it was so intense in those few minutes, why things happened like they happened. And so
according to Lori, Tylee was so devastated by Charles's death that she snapped, killed JJ, then took her own life. It's the story Lori's been pushing hard to anyone who will listen, but it's not true. For one thing, Tylee and JJ didn't die at the same time. Police say they were killed 2 weeks apart, and more importantly, Tylee died first, which makes Lori's latest excuse not just a cruel lie, but impossible. But by now, you already know Lori Vallow Daybell is an expert at denying responsibility, and she had plenty of reasons to want her husband dead, starting with her obsession with Chad Daybell. In opening statements, the prosecutor lays it all out. Lori Vallow wanted to be Lori Daybell, wife of Chad Daybell, she says. And in July of 2019, she wanted to keep living the comfortable life she had with Charles. And the only thing standing in her way? Charles Vallow. If he was out of the picture, Lori would get it all. Marriage to Chad Daybell, $1 million life insurance payout, Social Security benefits for herself and for JJ as the child of a deceased parent. But none of it was possible unless Charles was dead. But here's what Lori didn't know.
I can tell you that the beneficiary was changed in March of this year.
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what he was doing since we have 5 kids and we've been married for 15 years.
That's right. Before his death, Charles changed everything. He took Lori off the insurance policy and made his sister, Kay Woodcock, the new beneficiary. And there's a good reason why. Charles knew Lori was not okay. Lori hadn't been the woman he married since at least 2018 when she met Chad Daybell, her spiritual guru, a certified nut job, and soon-to-be fifth husband. Charles was desperate to shake Lori loose from the strange spell she was under. Her bizarre religious beliefs had her thinking Charles was no longer alive, that a man named Ned had taken over his body. She called him a zombie, said she was a translated being who lived past lives on other planets. He left her 4 months before his death, saying Lori had threatened to ruin him financially and kill him, which she did in July of 2019 with the help of her brother Alex, the shooter. But despite all that, it didn't stop her from feeling a certain kind of way when she found out that Charles had been trying to move on with other women. The night before he was shot, he was out on a date. And instead of focusing on the facts, Lori lit into the woman on the stand, acting furious that Charles had been seeing someone else. And when you hear how she questions this witness.
And we have not met before, correct?
We have not.
Okay. And you stated that your husband, or my husband, told you that he was going through a divorce. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you have any way to verify that?
No, I didn't try to verify that.
Okay. So did it surprise you later to find out that we were not in the process of a divorce?
Charles was in the process of a divorce.
He was not in the process of a divorce. Did it surprise you to find that out? You've seen it all on TV where we're not getting divorced.
Okay.
So on the website that you met him, did he say he was divorced?
I'm not certain.
Would you have gone on a date with him if he would have said he was married?
If I would have realized how married he still was, maybe not. But I just met for dinner. I wasn't sleeping with him or anything.
Do you go on dates with married men? Not naturally?
But this lady snaps back.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
You knew a lot about me.
You go, girl. But Lori could not seem to get over the fact that Charles was trying to move on. She brought up his dating with the detective on the stand, too.
And then on the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Jennifer Gilbert at 12 o'clock.
That sounds correct.
And then the next day, there was another date scheduled with a Juliet at 10 a.m.
And obviously trying to smear the victim.
All right, the objection sustained.
Detective, did you find searches for these dates for my husband back
Hold on.
If we can do a sidebar.
Sustained.
This is a different question,
No,
Your Honor.
whether he went on dates or had dates scheduled is not relevant to this case.
Never mind that Lori was already deep into an affair with Chad Daybell and conspiring to kill Charles. In Lori's mind, she is the victim. She even blamed the state for the fact that she didn't call a single witness or offer any evidence to support her self-defense story. She claimed prosecutors stopped her from asking the questions she really wanted to ask and blocked the people she really wanted to put on the stand. So she was like, why bother? And in her closing argument, Lori tried one last time to rewrite the story. She tells jurors prosecutors were trying to retrofit a crime that doesn't exist. Under Arizona law, Lori says she, Tylee, and Alex all had the right to self-defense. This event was not planned, she says. It was shocking. It was a tragedy. And her final plea to the jury, don't let them turn my family tragedy into a crime. But after everything the jury had seen and heard, there was no way to spin it. They saw the text messages Lori sent to her brother, Alex Cox, in the days leading up to Charles's death. Texts about evil spirits and spiritual transformations. Just 2 days before the July 2019 shooting, Lori texted Alex, "Thank you for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Ominous AF. Nephi is a character from the Book of Mormon who's famous for slaying an evil man by the command of God. It was clear Lori didn't see Charles as her husband anymore. She saw him as an enemy that needed to be eliminated. And after he was dead, Lori didn't call 911. She didn't wait for police. Instead, she drove off and hit up Walgreens. Surveillance video shows her casually shopping, buying 2 pairs of flip-flops right after she grabbed a bite at Burger King. Tylee was out in the car waiting, while her mother acts like nothing had happened. Witnesses describe her behavior afterwards as nonchalant, just like, running errands, normal day. It was Alex, after calling her multiple times first, who actually made that call to 911. And weirdly, she took Charles's phone with her. So she reaches over, what? Plus, she also had her own phone, making it real easy for police to track her movements after her husband was shot and killed in her living room. The jury also heard plenty about Charles's relationship with Lori before the shooting. How he told friends and family he was scared for his life, how he changed his life insurance policy just to make sure she didn't get a dime if something happened to him, or, to protect himself. Although he should have told her, you are not on my life insurance policy, because then maybe, I don't know. And finally, the medical examiner's report showing the fatal bullet was fired while Charles was already down on the ground. Self-defense? The jury didn't think so. It only took them 3 hours, spread over 2 days, to come back with a guilty verdict. But what they didn't know was the full story. They had no idea Lori was already serving 3 life sentences for the murders of her own children and for conspiring to kill her new husband's former wife, Chad Daybell. As a reminder, JJ and Tylee vanished in September of 2019, just a couple of months after this shooting. And for months, no one knew where they were. It wasn't until the summer of 2020 that their remains were finally found, buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell's Idaho property. One woman, so many lives and families destroyed, and a trail of death that prosecutors say started with Charles Vallow and ended with Lori smiling from the defense table. No matter how many excuses she makes, the jury saw her for exactly what she is, a killer. You'd think after everything, her time in court would be over, but it's not. She's headed back to trial again soon, this time accused of plotting yet another murder. Prosecutors say Lori helped plan the shooting of Brandon Boudreaux, the ex-husband of her niece. Brandon survived the attempt on his life, and now Lori will have to answer for that too. But after everything we've seen, do you think is there enough justice in the world for a case like this? Thanks for spending your time with us today. I'm Amy. Chris and I are here with more crime in half the time every week. Now remember to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Until next time, take care.